Good morning, JB here, May 17th, 2024. Pre-market rant. We have about 40 minutes to the open. Going to talk really fast. It's going to be more of a ramble than a rant. Talk about the market, some of the names I'm in, some of the names I'm looking at, and go from there. Take a look at a SPY. And for some reason, this is not updated from the day before. But the S&P, kind of a lackluster session after Wednesday's CPI-infused rally. Markets open higher, tried to get up near 532 or so on the SPY, reversed, closed around, what we closed, 528.69, which of course, if you're in call position, don't want to see the market sell off or at least close in the red, but to see it under its lower Bollinger Band and now upper Bollinger Band, and the upper Bollinger Band is 531 and change now. So I think all good signs. We've got a lot of the possible negative catalysts out of the way, and now we just have to get through the sell in May and go away crowd. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation around inflation over the weekend, things like that. But I think we're set up here at least for maybe a 540 test on the SPY for in the next couple of weeks. Only because I said it yesterday, new highs typically beget new highs. So a lot easier once we break through those clouds. You get the blue skies, 540, 545 or so, and then revisit on some pullback areas or some possible scenarios for some pullback plays. Some names I'm looking at. So take a look at CGC, ACB, and the cannabis space. You had the, I guess you would call it the official announcement from the U.S. administration in regards to rescheduling the cannabis from class 1 to class 3, where before marijuana was packaged with heroin. It's now it's now in the same class as steroids and like ketamine or whatever those drugs are. Needless to say, it bodes well for the space. I've talked about it many times. I always look at IIPR as one of the big benefactors, but some of these names, CGC, ACB, Tilray, they've all had this scale built out over the last couple of years based on legalization, not only in the U.S. and abroad. And now it seems to be finally coming to fruition. So maybe they're finally going to be able to reap the benefits. So take a look at CGC. I'll post a chart on the watch list, but I'll post it in the chat room. Nice uptrend here, and nice candle to the upside yesterday. Sitting here at close at 11. I keep saying 17, 18. That's kind of the first target. Added some July strikes. May look for some more calls. I have a couple of my May freebies that that are expiring today. Made some nice profits on those. Just think if there's plays in that space, CGC is one of them, IIPR is the other one and ACB I like as well. But nice little uptrend there. Think unfortunately Tilray came out this morning with I think a $250 million offering. So that's kind of weighing a little bit on the sector. But I always say this: if you're a publicly traded company, the reason you're publicly traded is to have access to capital. So you really can't fault people for raising cash unless your company name is AMC or GameStop. But rants for other days. So IIPR up 4 days in a row since its earnings. Little disappointment on the revenue side, but I think it was like misconstrued by the investment community. The stock probably should have traded higher. And again, I look at IIPR as one of the better risk reward plays in the cannabis space. They're going to do well regardless of what companies do. Tilray can go out of business and IIPR will still have customers, right? And I'm not saying Tilray is going out of business. I'm just using it as just a what if, right? So they're going to do well regardless of what all these individual names are going to do. Not only that, with the rescheduling of cannabis, it opens the door for capital, which wasn't available. Banks are restricted from doing transactions with some of these names just because it's associated with a name that used to be associated with heroin, right? So that's IIPR. irobot, after the close yesterday, the new CEO, he bought some shares at $12, but not much. Minuscule buy. I think it was 2,000 shares at $12. So you start doing the math. There's towards $25,000 insider buyer. But to me, it's more symbolic in nature. It says, hey, I believe in a company. The stock was at $6 only a couple weeks ago. I took over the reins. I'm going to buy it 100% higher, and he's probably going to do some more buys. And I haven't had a chance to really dig into the actual fundamentals. I mean, I used to love it when the stock was $100. I still think there's a market for them. They still have some great patented technology. Obviously, there's a lot more competition over the last couple of years, but I think it trades higher. I've said it before. It trades 1/3 revenues. the issue as well is they have debt, so they have to figure that debt solution out or debt situation out. I don't think they're going to raise cash, but like that one, even if the meme craze kind of goes the way of the dinosaur, I still think with the high short interest that'll start to unwind and that heads higher. So that's iRobot. Roku, not going to say too much here. Roku either. I would close down nearly 2% yesterday, right at the 50-day moving average, 61.51. It closed at 61.25. Hopefully it can recoup that today and then start to work its way to 70. I don't know why I don't have the BIDU chart on here, but I'll talk about Viking, VKTX. So Roche came out with phase 1 data of oral GLP-1 from their acquisition. So they acquired a company called Camelot. I think it was 6 months ago. I'm trying to remember exactly the dating of it, but they finally announced phase 1 data this morning, and I think they acquired them for $2.7 billion. At the time, Camelot was a private company, so you really very hard to value those companies within space. But they come out with their data, and it only shows a specific cohort. So when you look at VKTX and they announced their oral data, they show different dosage cohorts, right? The 5 milligram, 10 milligram, 20. And of course, the higher milligram dosage, especially on short durations, is going to have the higher weight loss. So Roche announces the data, but with not many cohorts. Then they also announce talk about adverse effects, but like dismissing it. Oh, moderate to severe gastro pains or whatever, which has been an adverse effect for a lot of these companies that have GLP-1 drugs. VKTX has had the lowest in regards to that. Just shocking. Then you see this yesterday, right after all that data came out, all these analysts came out defending the stock, raising price targets. This morning, same Raymond James upgrading the stock, $115, $120 price targets. It just, to me, it seems like people are just waiting. It doesn't matter what the news is from competitors. They think any competitor news that's not negative. So if it's a positive data or inline data, it's negative for VKTX. I think VKTX is still the best in class in regards to GLP-1. I think it heads much higher. I lock some of my June hundreds in for nice profits. At some point, I'll add some more strikes. They have mashed that out before the end of June. I think it heads much higher. So that's VKTX. BIDU, which I keep saying about the 110 handle. I don't even know if I don't know why I don't have the chart in here. Great earnings yesterday, and then the big spin. They talk about being a leader of AI in China, which is important. And then obviously their partnerships with Tesla, and you have all these big fund managers in the U.S. just adding to their stakes in a lot of these China ADRs, more specifically BABA and BIDU. I think if it holds 110, eventually it's going to embark on some kind of multi-day, 5 to 7 day rally where it's going to go from 110. Next thing you know, it's going to be like 135, 140. So I got some later dated strikes this morning. You have actually some downgrades. So Morgan Stanley downgraded BIDU to equal weight from overweight and cut their price target to 125 from 140. And Mark Ree, however you pronounce them, downgraded BIDU to a neutral. I don't have the price target there. Some of the reason I guess is trading down here in the pre-market. I'll put on a watch list, which should be out in a second. That I'll probably just cut my losses depending on what the premiums are on my calls if it can't hold 110 and go from there. I think that's it. Last but not least, I was looking at I keep getting an insane amount of direct messages, comments on FinTwit and pretty much emails everywhere around this ENVX. And I'm trying not to, if anybody's followed this community and chat room and whatever for the last 10, 12 years, 13 years, somewhere up in there, I'm not usually negative a name. I'm not bearish. I don't get puts a lot. And if I do, it's short dated in nature and not based on the business, just based on macroeconomic concerns, whether, if NVIDIA is it's up 30%, I'm going to get puts because I think that it might fall 5% if the market sells off. That's kind of the puts I get. I rarely get put positions on individual company names. ENVX is one of them because there's a whole list of red flags that have not been answered. I wave the red flag and I don't get any answers. And the more I dig, I find more red flags. So I hope I'm wrong. I keep saying this. I know a lot of people who are long name. I hope it goes to 50, 60 bucks. It's the next NVIDIA. I just don't think that's the case. And the more I look, I'm like, yeah. Even if they do get a deal and their line produces batteries. What happens? They don't have many lines. What happens when one of those lines go down? In order for them to validate even just where they're trading now, they need to have millions of batteries coming off their line at a, you know, what, $10 cost. I mean, $10 they're going to sell it for, I guess. Who knows what their cost is? So you know, I can. So I have a list. I'm not going to go into my rant right now because got to get to the open here. But I have some red flags. I think what I'm going to do is, instead of me trying to talk about it each day, I'm just going to do a peel off the band-aid, get all the red flags out of the way, post my little due diligence thing, why I continue to raise questions on the name, and then just kind of be done with it. And then I won't talk about it much anymore. Similar to what I did with Tesla back in 2013, when I was getting an insane amount of heat from just posting anything bullish on the name. So I'll probably do that, and I put it on a watch list. Don't be surprised if I add some more inexpensive speculative puts. You know, that I just look at the risk reward. If they are able to execute, that's great. Maybe it's $15 stock. I don't know. You know, what's the fair value? I saw someone post some due diligence or putting some models up saying, oh, if we our cost of the battery is $8, we sell it for $10, and we have a line that produces X amount of batteries, and then we have 4 lines, and you know, it's all great. We can all make these little math projects that validate your bull case, right? Which is fine, because people who write these things typically aren't bullish. But anyway, so rants for other days. Let's have a great day, folks. I'll be back on the audio later. Rock and roll.